What is up everybody, I'm Benji and welcome to another World of Tanks video. Now today protagonist is Unwell, which plays in his IS3A. This is the quite new introduced in the game, tier 8 Soviet premium heavy tank. Now Unwell plays on Erlenberg, defense mode, actually it's assault mode, but he's in the defending team. He rushes forward to that F2 position to meet enemies, and being the top tier heavy, that's your duty, that's what you need to do. He goes into this position where he can go hold down, and this is partially good and partially bad because the IS3 gets very good turret armor, but unfortunately it doesn't have enough gun depression to use this position, and in order to put the shots effectively he needs to expose a lot from his tank. Now that IS3A is doing some poor job. He rushes forward without any support from his team. Now he's going to get wrecked because he got caught in the open alone. Unwell punishes him with a very good roll. Now the IS3A is basically an ordinary IS3 armor wise, but gets a better 122mm in terms of DPM. It gets pretty much the same penetration, but it has APCR as external ammunition. That means you're going to lose more penetration with the distance, but you're going to get better shell velocity. That's going to help you when trying to lead the shots. He missed that shot on the T-34 sides. The second one actually doesn't miss. The T-34 bounces. A nice free cooldown is extremely difficult to dig out. The second one into the lower plate. He actually can trade the T-34 2 for 1. He can shoot twice for every shot that T-34 can put. And even though the T-34 hides there, he exposed his lower plate, and Unwell punish it there. Him there makes the right decision and goes for the kill on the T-34 instead of shooting the helpless artillery. Now this VK has nothing to do here. A poor tier 6 heavy tank. Unwell gets shot in the back, the side actually from the IS3A, I think. Penetrates the VK without any problem. So does the AMX. And Unwell is pretty much alone here on this flank with that super Pershing, but is way behind him at the moment, and he needs to deal with these 5 enemies on his own for now, while after he killed the VK, the Bulldog rushes him but does a very poor job. The Rheinmetall is spotted there on the hill. Unwell goes forward to increase the angle of the side, and the Rheinmetall actually bounced, only took the track of the IS3A. We all know how fair is that magical side armor from the Russian tanks. Now this is a very awkward position because he can get flanked by that CDC and the Bulldog, which can reload and make it into Unwell's back again. Luckily the super Pershing is here to help, or at least to distract the enemies. Gets some shots and loses half of his health. That T-71 did a very poor job because he was one shot and he rushes the front of the IS3. The CDC tries to flank Unwell, bounces I think a shot there, or actually no, he can't. Unwell focuses on the autoloader on the Bulldog. Now here the AMX bounces his shot. The super Pershing actually hits the AMX. Anvil doesn't have enough AP, CR shells loaded, so he is now on his hit. He manages to kill the AMX without hitting the tracks, because when you hit the tracks with hit, the projectile is going to get absorbed. Kills the artillery, which was cocked in the open. I guess he didn't have the sixth sense, because he stayed even though he was spotted. Now this OI is using the derp gun, I think, and doesn't do a lot of damage to the OI, though, even though he was using high explosive. Obviously, the Rheinmetall tries to flank Anvil. Here I was a little bit surprised, because he actually bent the track of the Rheinmetall and also tracking it. So he did damage and tracking it with the hit shell. I guess the Rheinmetall has such thin armor that's possible with so high penetration values on the hit rounds. He needs to hide behind the wreck, because even the smallest splash from the HE from that OI's gun is going to kill him. Rheinmetall does a poor job and dies. The Anvil shoots high explosive into OI's turret, but that Japanese heavy tank manages to snipe a shot between the wreck and kills Anvil. Even though the ending was a little bit disappointing, the Anvil got a little bit greedy and poke out to shoot another time the OI. This was still an absolutely amazing game, with 7,584 damage done, 2,111 base XP received, with a premium account reached about 3,500 XP. And look at the amount of credits this tank made in that battle, 200,000. That's absolutely amazing. Radley Walters also a high caliber and the Top Gun. This was his first Mark of Excellence game, so I can see that you really like this tank, even though it was quite recently introduced in the game. I hope you enjoyed this replay cast. If you did, please consider giving it a like up, not down below, and if you even want to see more of this in the future, consider subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate that. So see ya.